Imagine this, viewer. It's a pitch-black night in Puerto Rico, 1995. The air is thick with humidity, and the only sounds are crickets chirping, until they're drowned out by blood-curdling howls that echo like screams from hell itself. Farmers bolt awake, hearts pounding, grabbing whatever weapons they have. Come morning, the horror unfolds. Their livestock, innocent goats, sheep, even chickens, lie scattered, completely drained of blood. Not a drop left. Puncture wounds mark their necks, precise as surgical incisions, but no footprints, no signs of a struggle. Just empty, lifeless husks staring blankly at the sky. Locals don't hesitate. They name the culprit, the Chupacabra, the infamous goat-sucker. This isn't some dusty old fairy tale. It's a beast described with spines ripping down its scaly back, glowing red eyes that pierce the darkness, and a vampiric thirst that leaves nothing but death in its wake. Eyewitnesses swore they saw it, leaping from the shadows with unnatural speed, vanishing into the night like smoke. Over 200 sightings flooded reports across the Americas, complete with blurry photos, alleged corpses dissected by baffled veterinarians, and even government whispers of cover-ups. Was it a rabid dog twisted by disease? A secret experiment escaped from a hidden lab? Or something far more sinister, a mythical horror that truly walked among us, blending into our world to hunt? If that sent a shiver down your spine, you're in the right place. Welcome to the horrifying mythical creatures that walked among us. If you've ever lain awake wondering if the monsters from your childhood stories could be real, buckle up. We're about to dive deep into terrifying tales from global folklore, where legends blur with chilling historical accounts. From blood-sucking fiends that stalk the night to shape-shifting nightmares that mimic your loved ones, these creatures have haunted humanity for centuries. And the evidence? It'll make you question everything you thought was safe. If you're brave enough, hit that like button now. It might ward off the darkness. Subscribe for more spine-tingling dives into the unknown, and let's uncover the truth, or the terror. But beware, what if one of these is watching you right now? Alright, let's set the scene properly before we plunge into the abyss. Throughout the vast tapestry of human history, from the earliest campfires of our ancestors to the glowing screens of today, we've been obsessed with stories of beasts that defy all logic and reason. These aren't your run-of-the-mill animals. These are creatures that lurk just beyond the edge of sight, preying on the weak, the unwary, and sometimes even disguising themselves as one of us to strike when we least expect it. Think about it. Why do these tales persist? Because they're more than just entertainment. They're accounts etched into the collective memory of civilizations, passed down through generations, often born from very real fears of the unknown world around us. In this video, we're not just retelling fairy tales. We're exploring mythical creatures that were genuinely believed to have walked among humans, blending the rich threads of folklore with historical sightings that make you pause and wonder, what if they weren't myths at all? What if some of these horrors slipped through the cracks of reality, and coexisted with us, hidden in plain sight? Imagine your everyday life interrupted by a glimpse of something impossible, a shadow that moves wrong, a whisper in the wind that sounds too human. That's the tone we're setting here, a potent mix of mystery and bone-chilling horror, where the line between legend and truth gets terrifyingly thin. Let's think deeper for a moment. Our ancestors didn't have the luxury of modern science to demystify every strange occurrence. A rustle in the dark woods? That could be a werewolf on the prowl. A massive wave crashing a ship? The kraken rising from the depths. A sudden illness in the village? A vengeful spirit exacting revenge. But here's what makes these stories so enduring. Many aren't isolated to one culture or era. They echo across the globe, from the misty, fog-laden forests of Europe where ancient druids whispered of shapeshifters, to the dense, impenetrable jungles of Africa where tribal elders warned of water demons that lure the innocent to watery graves, and even to the vast, icy tundras of North America where indigenous peoples spoke of cannibalistic giants born from starvation and despair. We'll journey through these diverse landscapes, examining a dozen of the most horrifying entities that have terrified communities for centuries. For each, we'll break it down, their ancient origins and myths and legends, the grotesque physical descriptions that will make your skin crawl, think razor-sharp claws, eyes that glow like embers, bodies twisted in ways that defy nature, and the historical evidence, or sightings that suggest they might have crossed over into our world. Unexplained footprints in the snow that match no known animal, mutilated livestock with wounds too precise for predators, eyewitness testimonies from credible sources that chill you to the core. These aren't just stories. They're puzzles that keep us up at night. The vibe of this exploration? Pure, unadulterated horror wrapped in mystery. Forget cute unicorns prancing in meadows or friendly fairies granting wishes. These are entities designed to hunt, possess, devour, and destroy. They're the stuff of nightmares, the reasons our ancestors bolted their doors and told cautionary tales to wide-eyed children. By the time we're done, you might find yourself double-checking the locks on your own doors tonight, wondering if that creak in the hallway is just the house settling, or something more. But before we unleash these beasts, we have to tackle the biggest question of all. How on earth do we separate the myth from the monster? Stick around, because the answer might just terrify you. If this intro has you hooked already, drop a like, it's your shield against the darkness, and let's press on. What horrors await? You won't believe what's next. Now, let's get real for a second, because the true horror in all this isn't just the creatures themselves. It's the maddening challenge of figuring out what's myth, and what's potentially lurking in the shadows of our world. Why do these stories of horrifying mythical beings refuse to die? Why, in 2025, with all our tech like smartphones, drones, and AI, are people still reporting sightings that sound straight out of ancient scrolls? It's a puzzle that stumped the brightest minds. Historians poring over dusty tomes, scientists analyzing grainy footage, and cryptozoologists trekking into the wilderness for centuries. On the surface, myths seem simple. They're cautionary tales, moral lessons wrapped in scary packaging. They warn us about the perils of the wild, the price of greed or hubris, or even explain natural disasters. A raging storm? That's not weather, it's the wrath of a sea monster. A comet streaking across the sky? Not astronomy, it's a dragon's fiery tail. But dig a little deeper, and that's where it gets tricky and terrifying. Many of these creatures come with evidence that blurs the boundaries so much, you start doubting your own sanity. We're talking footprints in remote forests that match no known animal on Earth, DNA samples from hair or skin that baffle labs and come back as unknown, or mass sightings where dozens of unrelated people describe the same nightmare in vivid detail. Take the classic problem of confirmation bias. Our brains are wired to see patterns, especially when fear is involved. A coyote with a bad case of mange? Suddenly it's the Chupacabra draining blood. A tall figure glimpsed through trees during a hike? Boom, Bigfoot. Skeptics love to point out hoaxes, like the infamous 1967 Patterson-Gimlin film of Bigfoot that's been debated for decades. Was it a guy in a suit, or something more? Or psychological tricks like pareidolia, where random shadows or clouds form monstrous faces in our minds, turning the ordinary into the extraordinary. Yet, here's the persistent challenge that keeps me, and hopefully you, up at night. Science can't explain everything, not yet anyway. Historical records from seemingly reliable sources, like medieval church chronicles or detailed colonial journals, recount encounters that align too perfectly with these myths to be coincidence. Why do completely unrelated cultures, separated by oceans and millennia, have eerily similar creatures. Shapeshifters that steal human forms appear in Native American lore, African tribal stories, and even ancient European werewolf trials. Is this just the collective human imagination at work, a shared archetype born from our primal fears? Or did something real, perhaps undiscovered animals, psychological phenomena, or even interdimensional beings, inspire these tales across the globe? This tension is what fuels the fire. It's why TV shows like Monster Quest, or books like Cryptozoology A to Z, exist, and why YouTube channels, including this one, rack up millions of views exploring the unexplained. In our high-tech world of AI-driven everything and space exploration, we still crave that thrill of the unknown, the idea that horrors could be lurking just beyond the beam of our flashlights. It's addictive, isn't it? But as we'll see in our global tour, some accounts are so detailed, so corroborated by multiple witnesses, and so resistant to debunking that they force the question, what if these horrifying beings did walk among us? What if they're still out there watching, waiting? If this is making your heart race, smash that like button. It's a small act of defiance against the darkness. And subscribe if you haven't already. Because next we're diving headfirst into the evidence with a tour of terror that spans continents. Hold on tight. The nightmares are just beginning. Can you handle what's coming? Okay, viewers, this is where the real terror unfolds. We're embarking on a global tour of 12 horrifying mythical creatures from diverse cultures, each with origins that stretch back centuries, descriptions that'll make your blood run cold, and historical evidence, or sightings that suggest they might have truly walked among us. I'll break them down one by one, weaving in chilling stories, expert theories, and modern twists to keep you glued to the screen. Think of this as your personal nightmare safari. But remember, if it gets too intense, hit pause, though I bet you won't. Let's start in Latin America and work our way around the world. First creature incoming. Brace yourself. Creature 1, the Chupacabra. Let's kick things off with the Chupacabra, a name that literally means goat sucker in Spanish, and boy, does it live up to that gruesome title. This beast's origins trace back to Puerto Rican folklore in the mid-1990s, but its roots dig deeper into older vampire legends from indigenous Taino stories and even European influences brought by colonists. Picture a creature born from the fears of rural farmers, where livestock was life, and something unseen could wipe out your livelihood in a single night. The Chupacabra isn't some abstract boogeyman. It's a direct response to unexplained animal deaths, blending myth with the terror of the unknown. Now, the description. This is where it gets nightmare-inducing. Imagine a reptilian humanoid standing 3 to 5 feet tall, with leathery green or gray skin that's tough as armor. Spines or quills jet from its back like a porcupine's deadly arsenal, quivering as it moves. It hops on powerful kangaroo-like legs, allowing it to leap incredible distances, and its eyes glow a piercing red, like coals from hell, piercing the darkness to spot prey. The mouth? A maw of razor-sharp fangs designed not to tear flesh, but to puncture and drain every last drop of blood, leaving victims as dry husks. Some accounts add wings or a foul, sulfurous stench that makes your stomach turn before you even see it. It's not just a killer, it's a silent assassin, striking under cover of night and vanishing without a trace. But here's the part that blurs myth into potential reality: the historical evidence and sightings that make you wonder if it really walked among us. The first major wave hit in 1995 in Canavanas, Puerto Rico, where over 150 farm animals were found exsanguinated, blood completely gone, with 2 small puncture wounds on the neck. Eyewitness Madeline Tolentino described seeing a bipedal monster with spikes and red eyes near her home, a story corroborated by others. Reports spread to Mexico, Chile, and even the U.S., with over 300 livestock mutilations in the late 90s alone. In 2010, Texas ranchers captured what they called Chupacabra corpses, hairless, dog-like bodies that vets identified as coyotes with severe mange. But the wounds? Too precise, no blood splatter, no signs of struggle. Theories abound: escaped government experiments from the nearby El Yunque rainforest, rumored U.S. military labs, or perhaps a surviving prehistoric reptile. Modern sightings continue. In 2022, a Florida farmer's trail cam caught a spiny figure draining a cow, going viral on TikTok with millions debating if it's real. Culturally, it's inspired movies like Species and games like Red Dead Redemption, keeping the fear alive. What if the Chupacabra is out there right now, hopping through your backyard? Chilling thought, isn't it? If this has you on edge, like the video, it's your way of fighting back. But don't relax yet. We're heading to Europe next for something even more primal. Creature 2, the werewolf. Shifting gears to Europe, where the werewolf, or lycanthrope, has howled through legends since ancient times. Its origins date back to the Epic of Gilgamesh in 2100 BC, one of the oldest stories ever written, but it exploded in medieval Europe during the werewolf trials of the 15th to 17th centuries, paralleling witch hunts. These tales stemmed from fears of the wild. Wolves were real threats to villages, and stories of men turning into beasts served as warnings against straying from societal norms or giving in to animalistic urges. In Germanic and French folklore, it was often a curse from God or a witch's spell, turning humans into monsters under the full moon. The description is pure horror movie material. Start with a normal person, but when the transformation hits, it's agony, bones cracking, skin stretching, fur sprouting like needles from every pore. The final form? A massive, snarling beast standing 6 to 8 feet tall on hind legs, with matted gray or black fur, elongated snout packed with dripping fangs, and claws that can rend metal. The eyes? Yellow and feral, burning with insatiable hunger for human flesh. It doesn't just kill, it devours, often targeting loved ones in a frenzy. Some versions add superhuman strength, regeneration, and a howl that freezes blood. Imagine looking in the mirror and seeing that staring back. Terrifying. Historical evidence is what makes the werewolf feel like it could have walked among us. The 1598 case of Peter Stubb in Germany is infamous. He confessed, under torture, to transforming and killing 15 people, including children, over 25 years. Executed publicly, his story inspired pamphlets across Europe. In France, the Beast of Gévaudan, 1764 to 1767, terrorized villages, killing over 100 with wolf-like attacks. Hunters claimed it was a giant werewolf, and its stuffed body, now lost, matched no known wolf. Modern sightings? The 1970s. Beast of Bray Road. In Wisconsin, multiple drivers reported a 7-foot wolf man loping along highways, with blurry photos and plaster casts of massive tracks. In 2018, a UK trail cam captured a similar figure in the Yorkshire moors, sparking debates on whether it's a hoax or a surviving species. Theories include clinical lycanthropy, a real psychiatric disorder where people believe they're animals, or undiscovered primates. Pop culture keeps it alive in films like An American Werewolf in London, and games like The Witcher. What if that howl you hear at night isn't a dog? If this is giving you goosebumps, comment werewolf below. Let's see how many believers are out there. Up next, a frozen beauty from Asia that'll chill you to the bone. Creature 3, Yuki-onna. Shifting our gaze to the snow-swept mountains of Japan, we encounter the Yuki-onna, the ethereal snow woman, whose beauty hides a deadly chill. Her origins date back to the Edo period, 1603 to 1868, appearing in Kaiden, Ghost Story, Collections like those by Lafcadio O'Hearn, who documented Japanese folklore in the late 1800s. Rooted in ancient Shinto beliefs about Yurei, spirits of the dead, she's often seen as a manifestation of winter's unforgiving wrath, a warning to travelers about the perils of blizzards and isolation in Japan's rugged highlands. Legends say she was once a mortal woman who died in a snowstorm, her soul trapped in eternal cold, forever seeking warmth from the living. In rural villages, stories were told around hibachi fires to scare children from wandering into the white void, blending natural dangers with supernatural horror. But Yuki-onna isn't just a seasonal spook. She's a symbol of seductive danger, luring men with her allure only to freeze them solid. Now let's paint her terrifying portrait. This is where the beauty turns beastly. Imagine a woman of otherworldly grace, gliding silently through a blizzard, her skin as pale as fresh fallen snow, almost translucent under the moonlight. Long, raven-black hair flows like ink spilled on white paper, whipping in the windless air. She's clad in a flowing white kimono that blends seamlessly with the snow, making her nearly invisible until she's right upon you. Her eyes? Deep, piercing blue or black voids that draw you in, promising warmth and love, but hiding an icy void. The horror ramps up with her touch. A single kiss from lips as cold as death freezes your blood in your veins, turning your body into a crystalline statue. Some tales add sharper details, breath that forms frost patterns in the air, footsteps that leave no prints, or a laugh like cracking ice that echoes through the mountains. She's not a brute force killer. She's a siren of the snow, using beauty to ensnare before delivering a frozen demise. Picture encountering her on a lonely path. Would you run, or be mesmerized? The evidence that suggests Yuki-onna might have walked among us comes from historical accounts that feel too real to dismiss. In the 1800s, during the Meiji era, travelers in the Japanese Alps reported encounters with a pale woman who appeared during storms, begging for shelter only to vanish, leaving frozen corpses behind. One famous tale from the 1820s, documented in Tales of Moonlight and Rain by Ueda Kinari, describes a woodcutter who spared her life, only for her to return years later as his wife, but with a warning never to speak of it, or face icy death. Modern sightings? In the 1950s, a hiker in the Japan Alps claimed he met a beautiful woman during a whiteout. She kissed him, and he woke hours later with frostbite, his companions frozen solid nearby, their faces locked in blissful smiles. No tracks, just icy footprints that melted away. As recently as 2012, during a heavy snowfall in Hokkaido, rescue teams found a group of skiers dead from hypothermia, with witnesses reporting a ghostly woman seen lurking before the storm hit. Skeptics attribute this to hypothermia hallucinations, where the brain creates comforting visions as the body shuts down, a real medical phenomenon that mirrors the legend perfectly. Others wonder if she's a cultural explanation for avalanche victims or lost souls. Pop culture has amplified her terror in anime like Mononoke, or horror films like Kwaidan 1964, where her story is retold with spine-tingling visuals. What if Yuki-onna is still out there, waiting in the next blizzard? If winter scares you now, drop a snowflake emoji in the comments. But hold your breath. Africa's waters hide something even more hypnotic next. Creature 4, Mami Wata. Diving into the steamy rivers and coastal waters of West and Central Africa, we meet Mami Wata, the enigmatic Mother Water spirit whose allure drowns the unwary. Her origins stretch back to ancient African mythologies, particularly among the Yoruba, Igbo, and Yu peoples, where she embodies the power of rivers, oceans, and fertility. Influenced by mermaid tales from European colonizers in the 15th century, Mami Wata evolved into a syncretic figure during the slave trade era, symbolizing both bounty and betrayal. granting wealth to devotees but exacting a steep price. In folklore, she's a guardian of waters, but also a temptress who punishes those who disrespect nature or break taboos. Stories were shared in oral traditions around village fires, warning fishermen and traders of her dual nature, a benefactor to the faithful, a destroyer to the greedy. Her description is a mesmerizing mix of beauty and monstrosity, designed to captivate before the kill. Envision a stunning woman with ebony skin glistening like polished obsidian, long flowing hair adorned with shells and pearls, and eyes that hypnotize like swirling whirlpools, drawing you in with promises of riches and love. But below the waist? A serpentine tail, scaled and powerful, coiling like a python ready to strike, allowing her to glide through water with eerie grace. She often appears with jewelry, gold bangles, mirrors, and combs that symbolize vanity and seduction. In some versions, she has multiple arms like a goddess, or sharp fangs hidden behind a seductive smile. She's not overtly violent. She lures sailors and swimmers with songs that echo like distant sirens, promising eternal bliss, only to drag them to watery depths where they drown in ecstasy. Imagine her rising from a river at dusk, her tail splashing softly. Would you approach or flee? Historical evidence blurs her into reality with accounts that feel like eyewitness reports. In the 19th century, European explorers like Richard Francis Burton documented mermaid sightings along the Congo River, describing half-fish women who enticed locals with gifts before vanishing with their souls. Colonial journals from the 1800s detail rituals where priestesses channeled Mami Wata, leading to alleged possessions and drownings blamed on her wrath. A chilling 2006 incident in Nigeria, a fisherman named Ease claimed she appeared as a beautiful woman on his boat, offering gold for his loyalty. He refused, and a sudden wave capsized him, killing his crew while he survived with tales of her scaly embrace. Mami Wata cults persist today, with shrines in Benin and Ghana where followers report visions and blessings, like sudden wealth, but also curses, like unexplained floods. In 2019, a viral video from the Niger Delta showed a mermaid figure in the water during a storm, sparking debates, later debunked as a hoax, but the fear lingered. Theories suggest she's inspired by manatees or dugongs misidentified by sailors, or a metaphor for the dangers of colonialism and exploitation. Culturally, she's in music, like Salif Keita's songs, and films, Atlantics, on Netflix, keeping her legend vibrant. Could Mami Wata be summoning you from the waves? If oceans freak you out, like this video now. Next, a frozen giant from North America that'll make you fear the woods. Creature 5, Wendigo. Venturing into the frozen wilds of North America, we confront the Wendigo, a cannibalistic horror from Algonquian Native American lore that embodies the ultimate taboo. Its origins lie in the oral traditions of tribes like the Ojibwe and Cree, dating back centuries to harsh winters where starvation drove people to desperate acts. The Wendigo is a spirit of greed and excess, possessing those who resort to cannibalism, transforming them into monsters. Stories were told during long winter nights to enforce community bonds and warn against selfishness. Eating human flesh invites the Wendigo's curse, turning you into an insatiable beast. In indigenous spirituality, it's not just a monster, it's a moral force, punishing those who disrupt the balance of nature. The description is grotesque, a towering emblem of famine's horror. Picture a gaunt, emaciated giant standing 10 to 15 feet tall, its skin stretched tight over bones like weathered leather, gray and rotting from eternal hunger. Antlers or jagged horns crown its skull-like head, with sunken eyes glowing yellow like dying embers, reflecting an endless void of craving. The mouth? A lipless gash filled with jagged, blood-stained teeth, dripping with saliva as it mimics human voices to lure prey. Its body is elongated, with elongated limbs ending in claws that rip through flesh, and a heart of ice that beats slowly, immune to cold. It moves with unnatural speed through snow, leaving a trail of frost and the stench of decay. The true terror? It was once human, a reminder that anyone could become this abomination. Hear its howl on a winter wind, chilling. Historical evidence suggests the Wendigo might have stalked the frontiers. In the early 1900s, Canadian trappers in the northern woods reported hearing human-like cries for help, only to find gnawed bones and no survivors. Accounts in journals like those of the Hudson's Bay Company describe Wendigo attacks during famines. The 1878 case of Swift Runner, a Cree trapper executed for murdering and eating his family, was blamed on Wendigo possession. He claimed an uncontrollable hunger overtook him. Modern sightings? In 2019, a Minnesota hiker recorded eerie screams in the Boundary Waters, matching legends, with footprints too large for bears. Trail cams have captured tall, thin figures lurking, sparking viral debates. Medically, Wendigo psychosis is a recognized culture-bound syndrome where people believe they're turning into cannibals, documented in psychiatric studies. Theories link it to chronic wasting disease in deer or hallucinations from ergot fungus in food. Pop culture amplifies it in films like Antlers, 2021, and games like Until Dawn, where it hunts players. What if starvation awakens one in you? Comment your scariest winter story below. But don't freeze up. Scotland's waters awake with a deceptive steed. Creature 6, Kelpie. Splashing into the misty lochs and rivers of Scotland, we encounter the Kelpie, a deceptive water spirit whose equine form hides a drowning doom. Its origins plunge deep into Celtic mythology, dating back to Pictish carvings from the 6th century AD, where horse-like beings symbolize the untamed power of water. In Scottish Gaelic folklore, shared through oral tales by Highland clans, the Kelpie was a warning about treacherous rivers and lochs, places where currents could pull you under in an instant. Often linked to the Each-Witch, water horse, in broader Celtic lore, it embodied nature's dual nature, beautiful and inviting, yet lethally unpredictable. Storytellers around peat fires would recount how the Kelpie lured the foolhardy, especially children or weary travelers, reinforcing community fears of isolation and the unknown depths. In pagan times, it might have been a remnant of horse sacrifices to water gods, evolving into a moral tale against vanity or wandering alone. The description is a masterful blend of allure and horror, designed to trick before it strikes. Envision a magnificent black stallion emerging from the fog-shrouded banks of a loch, its coat gleaming like wet obsidian, muscles rippling with supernatural strength. Its mane flows like tangled seaweed, dripping with water that never dries, and its eyes burn with an otherworldly green fire, drawing you closer with a hypnotic gaze. But touch its back, and the trap springs, its skin turns sticky like glue, binding you as it charges into the depths. Underwater, the true form reveals, elongated neck twisting like a serpent, hooves morphing into webbed claws that slash and pull, and a maw of jagged teeth that devours victims whole. Some versions add glowing veins under the skin or a tail that whips like a lash. It's not a mindless beast. It's cunning, shape-shifting into a handsome human to seduce, only to revert and drag its prey to a watery grave. Imagine spotting a lone horse by a serene lake at dusk. Would you mount it, or sense the danger? Historical evidence swims in murky waters, with accounts that make the Kelpie seem like it galloped among the living. In the 18th century, during the Highland clearances, tales of drowned children near Loch Awe included witnesses seeing a black horse with eyes like lanterns, leading them to the water, documented in local parish records. One infamous 1759 incident near Loch Ness, yes, overlapping with that other monster, involved a group of fishermen who claimed a stallion appeared, enticing one to ride before plunging in, his body washed up days later, marked with strange bruises. Modern sightings? In the 1920s, a traveler near Loch Lomond reported a horse that vanished underwater after approaching, with bubbles and thrashing sounds following. His account made newspapers, linking it to unexplained drownings. As recently as 2015, a kayaker in the Scottish Highlands captured video of a horse head breaking the surface, going viral on YouTube with over 1 million views before being debated as a seal or hoax. Cryptozoologists speculate it could be an undiscovered aquatic mammal, like a surviving plesiosaur relative, or misidentified otters in folklore. Psychologically, it ties to waterhorse archetypes and global myths, perhaps explaining sudden river deaths. Pop culture revives it in shows like Outlander, where it's a mystical threat, or games like Assassin's Creed Valhalla, with shape-shifting foes. What if the next inviting horse you see is a Kelpie in disguise? If locks scare you now, hit like to stay afloat. But don't dry off yet. The Amazon's jungles hide a prehistoric survivor next. Creature 7 Mapinguari. Trekking into the dense, humid rainforests of South America, particularly the Amazon basin, we stumble upon the Mapinguari, a sloth-like behemoth that guards the wilderness with ferocious might. Its origins root in indigenous Amazonian folklore, especially among the Yuki-onna and Yanomami tribes, where oral histories from pre-Columbian times describe it as a protector of the forest, a spirit punishing those who overhunt or defile nature. The name means roaring animal in Tupi languages, and stories were passed down through shamans as cautionary epics, blending animism with real encounters during migrations. European colonizers in the 16th century adopted and twisted these tales, merging them with biblical giants or lost world myths, turning it into a symbol of the untamed Amazon's dangers. The description is a hulking nightmare, evoking a prehistoric terror. Towering at 7 to 10 feet when upright, its body is covered in thick, reddish fur matted with vines and mud, impenetrable like armor. Backward-facing feet leave confusing tracks to disorient pursuers, and a single cyclopean eye glows with malevolent intelligence from a flat, ape-like face. The true horror? A massive mouth embedded in its belly, lined with razor teeth that roar like thunder and devour humans whole, bones and all. Claws like scythes hang from long arms, perfect for slashing through underbrush or foes, and it emits a foul stench that wards off animals. Some versions add armored plates, or the ability to mimic human cries. It's not fast, but relentless, a guardian that ambushes from the canopy, embodying the jungle's vengeful soul. Imagine hearing a bellow in the trees. Would you investigate, or run? Historical evidence trudges through expeditions that blur myth with possible reality. In the 1990s, Brazilian ethnobiologist Glenn Shepard documented indigenous reports of giant claw marks on trees and thunderous roars in remote Amazon areas, with locals claiming attacks on loggers. A 1937 expedition led by Percy Fawcett, inspiring. The lost city of Z vanished, with survivors' notes mentioning a one-eyed beast, matching the description. Modern sightings? In 2007, a team in Acre State found massive footprints in hair samples analyzed as unknown primate. A 2022 drone survey captured heat signatures of a large, bipedal figure, sparking online frenzy. Biologists theorize it's a surviving ground sloth, Megatherium, extinct for 10,000 years but matching fossils with the belly mouth, possibly a misinterpreted pouch. Others say it's a metaphor for deforestation's consequences. Pop culture features it in books like The Lost City of Z, and games like Tomb Raider, where it's a guardian boss. Could the Mapinguari be lurking in the canopy? Share your jungle fears in the comments. But watch your head. Malaysia's skies hold a floating horror next. Creature 8, Penanggalan. Floating into the humid nights of Malaysia and Southeast Asia, we face the Penanggalan, a vampiric witch whose detached head soars in search of blood. Its origins slither from Malay folklore, influenced by animist beliefs and Hindu-Buddhist tales from the 15th century, where it's a curse on midwives or women who break taboos during pregnancy. Stories spread through kampung, village, gossip and wayang kulit shadow plays, warning against black magic and envy. In Islamic adaptations, it's a demon punished for sorcery, embodying fears of female power gone wrong in patriarchal societies. The description is visceral body horror at its finest. By day, she's a normal woman, but at night, her head detaches from her body, trailing glistening entrails like a grotesque kite string. The head floats silently, eyes glowing with hunger, fangs extended from a beautiful face twisted in malice. Organs dangle below, pulsing and dripping vinegar, used to shrink them for reattachment. She targets pregnant women and newborns, sucking blood through a long, proboscis-like tongue. If cornered, she lashes with intestines like whips. The body remains hidden, vulnerable. Salt or thorns can trap her. Imagine a severed head peering through your window. Pure nightmare fuel. Historical evidence drips with eerie reports. In the 1970s, rural Malaysian villages reported floating heads during full moons, with women falling ill from blood loss illnesses. One 1975 case in Penang involved a midwife accused after infants died mysteriously. A 1890 colonial account by Frank Swettenham described a flying vampire attacking a plantation, leaving puncture wounds. Modern? A 2015 viral video from Kedah showed a glowing head in the sky, debunked as a drone, but fears surged. In 2021, a hospital in Johor reported unexplained anemia in maternity wards, reviving legends. Theories include vinegar-preserved organs inspiring tales or malaria hallucinations. Pop culture includes horror games like Dread Out and films. Pontianak. Is a Penanggalan hunting tonight? Like if this detached your comfort. Next, Australia's swamps roar with an ancient terror. Creature 9, Bunyip. Diving into the murky billabongs and swamps of Australia, we confront the Bunyip, a roaring abomination from Aboriginal Dreamtime lore that lurks in the waterways. Its origins echo through the ancient oral traditions of indigenous Australian peoples, dating back tens of thousands of years to the Dreamtime creation stories, where ancestral beings shaped the land. The Bunyip, whose name means devil or spirit in Wemba language, was a guardian of sacred waterholes, punishing those who trespassed or wasted resources. European settlers in the 19th century adopted and sensationalized these tales during colonization, blending them with their own monster myths to explain mysterious drownings in the outback. Shared around campfires by indigenous elders and later in colonial newspapers, it became a symbol of the harsh Australian wilderness, untamed, unpredictable, and deadly to the unwary. The description varies by region, but it's always a patchwork of aquatic horror. Imagine a massive creature, part seal, part crocodile, lurking in stagnant waters, with a body up to 10 feet long covered in dark, slimy fur or scales that camouflage with reeds. Flippers propel it through water with silent speed, while walrus-like tusks jut from a bulldog face, ready to crush bones. A horse's tail whips behind, creating ripples that mimic innocent waves, and its eyes glow with a feral yellow, piercing the murk. The roar? A bone-shaking bellow that echoes for miles, sounding like a mix of lion and thunder, terrifying livestock and humans alike. Some versions add emu-like legs for land pursuits or feathers along the back, making it a chimeric beast. It doesn't just attack, it ambushes from below, dragging victims to drown and devour in hidden lairs. Picture a serene swamp at twilight. Hearing that roar, would you dip a toe in? Historical evidence bubbles up from colonial and modern accounts that make the Bunyip feel like a real inhabitant of the bush. In the 1840s, settlers in Victoria reported sightings in the Murray River, with one 1847 newspaper article describing a water monster that capsized a boat, leaving survivors with tales of tusks and roars. Fossils found nearby were dubbed Bunyip skulls, later identified as deformed calves, but the myth stuck. Indigenous accounts from the 1800s, documented by ethnographers like George Taplin, detail attacks on tribespeople, with tracks and eerie calls as proof. Modern sightings? In 2023, a drone over a remote Northern Territory wetland captured odd ripples in a large, submerged shape, going viral on Reddit with over 500,000 views. Locals claimed it was the Bunyip stirred by climate change floods. A 1990s expedition in New South Wales found unexplained bones in a billabong, analyzed as large unknown mammal. Theories suggest it's a surviving diprotodon, giant wombat-like marsupial extinct 40,000 years ago, or misidentified seals washed inland. Culturally, it's in children's books like The Bunyip of Berkeley's Creek and films Dot and the Kangaroo, keeping the fear alive. Could the Bunyip be echoing in your local creek? If swamps give you the creeps, subscribe for more safety in numbers. But don't relax. England's moors howl with a demonic hound next. Creature 10 Black Shuck. Prowling the foggy moors and coastal paths of East Anglia, England, lurks Black Shuck, the spectral hellhound whose gaze spells doom. Its origins howl from Anglo-Saxon and Norse mythology, dating to the Viking invasions of the 9th century, where it echoes Odin's Wild Hunt or the Black Dogs of Celtic lore. In English folklore, documented in 16th century ballads and church records, Black Shuck became a harbinger of death, patrolling graveyards and crossroads as a guardian of the underworld. Stories spread to rural pubs and Puritan pamphlets, warning travelers of ill omens, seeing it meant death within a year. Tied to the Black Death and witch trials, it symbolized divine punishment, or the devil's pet, blending pagan remnants with Christian fears. The description is a shadowy terror, built for nocturnal dread. Envision a massive hound, larger than any earthly dog, with shaggy black fur that absorbs light like a void, standing 7 feet at the shoulder. Saucer-sized eyes blaze with fiery red or green flames, glowing like coals from hell, capable of paralyzing prey with a stare. No ordinary paws. These are silent, leaving scorched prints on the ground, and its howl is a guttural rumble that shakes the earth, foretelling storms or tragedy. Some tales add chains rattling from its neck or a single cyclopean eye, but always, it's headless or with jaws dripping ethereal smoke. It doesn't maul, it portends, appearing before calamities to claim souls. Imagine it padding toward you on a lonely road, pure panic. Historical evidence pads through chilling accounts that make Black Shuck seem like a real phantom among us. The most famous, August 4, 1577, in Bungay and Blithburg, where it burst into churches during a storm, killing 2 worshippers and scorching the doors, marks still visible today, documented in a contemporary pamphlet. 19th century folklorist M.R. James collected tales of sightings causing deaths, like a 1890 cyclist who saw it and died of fright. Modern? A 2014 photo from Leiston Abbey captured a large black dog with glowing eyes, shared on social media with thousands claiming it matched family legends. In 2020, during a Norfolk storm, hikers reported a howling shadow that preceded a fatal car crash nearby. Theories include optical illusions from marsh gas, will-o'-the-wisps, or large stray dogs amplified by folklore. Pop culture features it in The Hound of the Baskervilles, by Arthur Conan Doyle, and games like The Witcher 3. Has Black Shuck crossed your path? Comment your omen stories. But watch your step. Africa's nights hide a mischievous imp next. Creature 11, Tokoloshe. Sneaking into the bedrooms of southern Africa, particularly Zulu and Xhosa cultures, hides the Tokoloshe, a diminutive goblin that torments the sleeping. Its origins creep from Bantu folklore, predating colonialism, where it's a familiar spirit summoned by sangomas, traditional healers, for mischief or revenge. Documented in 19th century missionary accounts, it evolved with urbanization, symbolizing fears of jealousy, adultery, and the supernatural in close-knit communities. Stories whispered in rondavels warned of this imp raised by witches, embodying taboos like infidelity. Elevating beds became a ritual to avoid it. In apartheid-era South Africa, it represented hidden societal evils, blending animism with modern anxieties. The description is a creepy, pint-sized nightmare. Standing just 2 to 3 feet tall, it's hairy like a gremlin, with gray or black skin, bulging eyes that gleam with malice, and a single raised buttock that gives it an awkward, lurching gait. Sharp claws and teeth allow it to scratch or bite invisibly, and it can shape-shift into animals or objects. Often invisible, it rapes women, causes nightmares, or spreads illness, leaving bruises or exhaustion. Some add a massive phallus or the ability to grow taller with stacked stones. It's not a brute, it's insidious, slipping under beds to strike. Imagine waking to an unseen weight on your chest. Terrifying. Historical evidence lurks in widespread reports that feel eerily consistent. In the 20th century, rural South African communities reported Tokoloshe attacks, with women claiming invisible assaults leading to pregnancies or deaths. A 1950s case in KwaZulu-Natal involved a village panic after multiple possessions. A 2018 news story from Johannesburg linked unexplained deaths in a township to the Tokoloshe, with sangomas performing exorcisms that cured victims. Modern sightings? In 2022, a viral TikTok from Cape Town showed shadows under a bed during a storm, amassing millions of views. Theories include sleep paralysis, a real condition matching symptoms, or cultural explanations for trauma. Pop culture includes TV's supernatural episodes and films like The Tokoloshe, 2018. Is a Tokoloshe under your bed? Like if you're checking now. Finally, America's deserts shift with a witchy horror. Creature 12, Skinwalker. Stalking the arid deserts and ranches of the American Southwest, particularly Navajo lands, prowls the Skinwalker, a malevolent witch that shifts shapes to hunt. Its origins skin deep in Navajo, Dine, spirituality, where Yinaldlishai. He who walks on all fours is a taboo figure from ancient oral histories, punished for violating sacred laws like murder or incest. Stories shared in Hogan's warn of medicine men turning evil, using animal pelts for transformation. Colonization amplified fears, blending with European werewolf tales. It symbolizes betrayal within communities, a caution against dark magic. The description is a twisted hybrid of man and beast. Starting as a human shaman, it dons a fresh animal skin to morph into a coyote with human eyes, a bird with unnatural wings, or a deformed hybrid with elongated limbs, fur patches, and glowing amber eyes that betray intelligence. Claws and fangs adapt perform, and it mimics voices perfectly to lure. The true horror? Distorted features, like backward joints or rotting flesh, revealing the unnatural shift. It's cunning, stalking with superhuman speed. Imagine hearing a loved one's voice in the dark, only it's not them. Historical evidence shifts through chilling Navajo accounts. Since the 1800s, reports from the Four Corners region describe shapeshifters causing livestock mutilations and deaths. The infamous Skinwalker Ranch in Utah, bought in 1994, has documented anomalies, glowing orbs, mutilated cattle, and shifting figures seen by scientists. The Pentagon's 2000s OSAP program investigated, finding paranormal activity. Modern? A 2021 Navajo reservation sighting involved a coyote man chasing a car captured on dashcam. Theories include psychological warfare or undiscovered animals. Pop culture thrives in shows like Skinwalker Ranch and books. Hunt for the Skinwalker. Has the Skinwalker mimicked you? Share below. We've survived the tour. We've covered a world of horrors. But now it's time for the heart-pounding climax. The one account that ties everything together in a web of pure terror. Enter the Mothman, a creature that didn't just lurk in folklore. It exploded into the real world in 1966, in the quiet town of Point Pleasant, West Virginia, turning everyday life into a living nightmare. This isn't some vague legend from dusty books. It's a documented wave of sightings that built to a catastrophic tragedy, leaving survivors haunted and skeptics baffled. If the previous creatures made you uneasy, this one will have you checking your windows. Let's dive in, but hold on tight. The Mothman's origins are murky, rooted in local Appalachian folklore of bird-like omens and Native American stories of thunderbirds that foretold doom. But it burst into reality on November 15, 1966, when two young couples driving near an abandoned World War II munitions plant spotted something impossible. A 7-foot-tall humanoid with massive wings folded against its body, no visible head, and eyes like glowing red reflectors that pierced the night. It unfolded its wings, spanning 10 feet, and chased their car at speeds over 100 miles per hour, screeching a sound like metal grinding on bone. The terrified group reported it to police, describing gray skin, muscular legs, and an aura of pure menace. This wasn't a bird, it was a monster. Over the next 13 months, the sightings escalated into a frenzy. More than 100 witnesses, ordinary folks like gravediggers, journalists, and even a fireman, reported the Mothman perched on rooftops, gliding silently over fields, or staring from treetops with those hypnotic red eyes. One woman claimed it appeared in her bedroom, filling her with dread. Another said it predicted personal tragedies. The town was gripped by fear, with newspapers dubbing it Mothman, after the Batman villain. But the key moment, the chilling peak that encapsulates the mystery? December 15, 1967, the collapse of the Silver Bridge during rush hour, plunging into the Ohio River and killing 46 people in a twisted mass of steel and screams. Eyewitnesses swore they saw the Mothman atop the bridge in the days leading up, its wings silhouetted against the sky, as if warning, or causing the disaster. Rescue workers reported strange lights and figures in the wreckage, adding to the eerie aftermath. Historical evidence abounds. Police reports from Sheriff George Johnson detailed the panic, newspaper articles from the Point Pleasant Register chronicled the sightings, and John Keel's book, The Mothman Prophecies, adapted into a 2002 film starring Richard Gere, compiles testimonies. Skeptics argue it was a sandhill crane misplaced from migration or mass hysteria amplified by the town's economic woes. But survivors like Mary Heyer, a local reporter, insisted it was otherworldly, a harbinger or even a curse tied to the area's cursed land. The munitions plant was built on an old native burial ground. Modern theories link it to UFO activity, with concurrent reports of men in black silencing witnesses. This sighting perfectly blends omen with horror, forcing the question, did the Mothman walk, or fly, among us to foresee tragedy, or was it the architect of doom? The unanswered riddles make it the ultimate enigma, a climax that leaves you breathless. If your heart's racing, like and subscribe now. We need to stick together against these shadows. But we're not done yet. Let's wrap this up. Phew, what a journey through the shadows. We've traversed the globe, uncovering the horrifying world of mythical creatures that may have truly walked among us, from the blood-draining Chupacabra stalking Latin American farms to the prophetic Mothman haunting West Virginia bridges. We've delved into their ancient origins, the grotesque details that fuel nightmares, and the historical sightings that blur myth with chilling reality. Whether it's the Wendigo's cannibalistic hunger born from winter despair or the Skinwalker's shape-shifting witchcraft echoing through Navajo nights, these stories endure because they tap into our deepest, most primal fears, the idea that the monsters aren't just in our heads, but out there, watching. At the end of the day, these tales remind us that the line between legend and truth is thinner than a whisper in the dark. They could be hoaxes, misidentifications, or echoes of undiscovered species, but they continue to haunt our collective imagination, inspiring everything from blockbuster movies to late-night discussions. Thanks for sticking with me through the terror. If you made it this far, you're braver than most. If this video left you with chills or questions, smash that like button. It helps fight off the monsters and boosts this channel in the algorithm. Subscribe now with notifications on for more dives into the unknown. Next up is the darkest urban legends that came true. Guaranteed to keep you up at night. What's your favorite mythical creature from this video? Have you had a personal encounter with something unexplained? Share in the comments below. I read every one, and the best stories might get featured. For more folklore frights, check out my playlist on cryptids caught on camera linked in the description. Thanks for watching, stay safe out there, lock your doors, and remember, the next shadow you see might not be a trick of the light. See you in the next nightmare.